Hello. I put a poll out this morning on my stories asking what would you like me to talk about? And I gave people the option, and the winning option was about boundaries. How to, I can't even remember exactly what it was, but basically how to have better boundaries. And so this episode is going to really break things down and show you a different way. Because I see people struggling all around me all the time with boundaries. And it really doesn't need to be this way. And so let me share how to overcome this constant struggle with boundaries if that is your experience. So if you're finding that your boundaries are always being pushed, either in your business, in your personal life, with your family members, whatever it is, the concept is all the same. So grab a pen, paper if you can, take some notes. Make sure that you are able to apply the things that I share with you today, because it's wonderful to listen to a podcast and think you get so much value from it, but unless you actually listen from a place of like active engagement, nothing's going to change. It's very different to listen and passively just let it wash over you, and actually at the end stop and be like, right, okay, what have I taken from this? What am I changing moving forward? So I'll try and remember to give you that opportunity to reflect. So let's get started then. I first of all need you to know a few things about your brain, because an understanding of the human brain changes how you look at boundaries. And so the first thing that I would love to share with you is that everything that you are experiencing is a reflection of what is inside. Okay, so how the human brain works is that it's your subconscious mind that is experiencing everything, taking everything in, and it's doing this for you. Your subconscious mind, literally, its job is to keep you alive. That's why it takes care of breathing and digestion and basically filtering your surroundings in order to keep you safe. So if you were conscious of everything that your subconscious is conscious of, whoa, what a mouthful. If you were aware of everything that your subconscious is taking in all the time, it would be absolutely exhausting for you. You just wouldn't be able to cope. So your subconscious mind takes everything in, filters it, and only gives you a very, very tiny, tiny proportion of things to become consciously aware of. So if you imagine like 80,000 bits of information coming to you every single second, but only being aware of 3 or 4 bits of information, that's what's going on. And so what the subconscious mind chooses to show you is a reflection of what is on your internal belief system. Okay. We call this a reticular activating system. Basically, the subconscious mind's filter. It filters out everything. And according to what is on your internal belief system is what you will be shown consciously. Okay? So, with that in mind, you can now understand when I say our outer world is a reflection of what's on the inside. And we are always being shown things to bring to our awareness opportunities to grow. Because I believe that's why we're here on this earth, to grow. If we're not growing and evolving, what's the point, right? So we have these experiences, and some of them are really, really hard. But if you can look at life as a learning experience, then it's very game changing for you. You can see things happening for you rather than to you. It takes you away from this victim mindset and puts you in an empowered place where you can watch things unfold in front of you and ask yourself each time, why is this happening for me? What is the learning here? So this brings us on nicely to boundaries. Now, I would also love for you to know that it is human nature to push boundaries. Any of you that have either have kids of your own or have had experience of kids, being a teacher, all of these things, you will know that kids push buttons. It's it's innate, right, to push boundaries. We will push until we find a boundary. And you'll know that as an adult. You'll know what you can get away with different people. Okay, you feel it. Subconsciously, we are always reading each other's nonverbal communication and energy. You know those people who you wouldn't want to cross. And that's purely down to energy. You feel that and you respond accordingly. Is your subconscious mind interpreting that and choosing your behavior for you in those moments? And why I say choosing your behavior for you in those moments is because 95% of your actions, the things that you say, is governed by your subconscious mind. You're not choosing consciously how you respond to things most of the time, or the answers that you give to people, the things that you choose to say to people. You're not consciously choosing that. It's your subconscious, and it's down to your programming. Okay? So know then that it's human nature to push boundaries, and humans will always do that. All right? So the next thing I want you to know is that you choose what you're available for, i.e., what you decide. And most of the time, this is subconscious until you become aware that this is how things work with the brain that we have. And, depends on how far you are in your personal development journey, but you actually do choose what you're available for. Because when you decide to not be available for being treated a certain way, then your energy shifts. And we are always reading each other's energy. Or if you're not resonating with that word, nonverbal communication. Most of our communication is nonverbal. So when you make a decision that you're not going to be treated a certain way, it's felt in your energy. And this is amazing to experience, have had experience. Like before I became a hypnotherapist and doing what I'm doing now, I used to be a teacher, and early on in secondary school teacher, and early on in my teaching career, like kids push boundaries massively. And it's a really, really tough job being a secondary teacher because it's literally sink or swim. And you have the same class all year. So how you choose to go in and be with that class matters, because you can get less strict, but you can't get stricter, right? The kids learn where those boundaries are, and that's it for the year. So it's a lot of pressure. But what was I going to say here? Oh, but what's really, really interesting is if you have had a class that are just sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit, and you decide before going in to a lesson one day, this is like my experience and loads of experiences of teachers that I've spoken to early on in their career. Also, I used to be a professional tutor as well, which is basically looking after trainee teachers as well. So I was involved in the mentorship of trainee and new teachers in their career. So I've had a lot of conversations about this with new teachers over the years as well. But essentially, when you decide, if you've got a tricky class and you've been reflecting on how to manage them, and if you're going into that class having decided that you are going to not be available for certain behaviors anymore, and you've decided that before going in, and you've decided your action plan, if this happens, I'm going to do this, then it is so incredible to witness how you're not even tested in those moments, because it's felt in your energy, in your nonverbal communication, that those kids just know that they're not going to be able to get away with that today. And it's really, really incredible to see and experience. And so, yeah, just a little one, a little story there. Don't know how many of you will resonate with that, but it's just amazing to witness how when you decide that you're not available for something, something shifts. And I personally do not have issues with boundaries, and it's actually so liberating, because when you feel like your boundaries are being tested left, right, and center, that can be so exhausting, so draining, so testing. Makes you doubt yourself, makes you it just chips away at your confidence to stand in your leadership and to be the most empowered version of yourself, especially when you're trying to run a business. And the confidence is everything, isn't it? Like, how you show up and how you hold yourself. If there's self-doubt, that's going to be felt in your energy, and then that's just, it's a knock-on effect. It massively affects how you show up, whether you want to show up at all, and massively affects how you're able to sell things and all sorts. So our actions are driven by our feelings, and our feelings are driven by, you've guessed it, your subconscious mind. So are your actions, but we act according to how we feel, and we feel based on our internal belief system. And if you've heard more than one episode, I'm sure you've heard me say that nothing in life is positive or negative. It just is. Everything is neutral. It's how we respond to each different situation that makes it a positive experience or a negative experience. So your unique internal belief system, through which your subconscious mind is filtering everything, is making you perceive situations in a certain way, triggering you, shall we say. And then how you are feeling then drives your actions. Whether you spiral in self-doubt and question and then decide to do something that you would never normally do, but because you've got so much fear and anxiety about what might happen. Let's put a story to this. So actually we're kind of talking in an example. Let's say, for example, you have a client who you've brought into your program, who's come into your program. They seemed fully aligned. You had no reason to question whether they were aligned or not. They seemed aligned, but then they got in and they seem very misaligned. And they contact you out of the blue and they say, I'm not feeling it. I'd like a refund. And your first response is, what the hell? Like, you've invested in yourself here. You are blatantly in victim mode. You've invested out of fear, or you're scared of doing the work, whatever it is. You can see what's going on, and you would love to be able to coach them to get them back in their power, do the work, be committed, because they've committed. They've signed their client agreement, they've entered into a legal agreement to work with you, they've paid you, but they've turned around, they're in fear, they're asking for their money back. So you can see what's going on here, and you would love to be able to coach them, get them on a call, coach them powerfully to get them back into their power and to get the best out of them. You would love to be able to do that. But your subconscious feels very, very triggered in this moment. All of the fears are coming up, and you are worried about what might happen if you did get them on a call and try to coach them to stay. So even though you'd love to keep your processes about not giving refunds, or, you would love to coach, you would love to keep them because you can see that they're in full-on victim mode and it's not misaligned, they're just acting out of fear. You'd love to be able to coach them back, but you just cannot, because your actions are driven by your feelings, and your feelings right now are pure fear. What if they go and badmouth me? What if they go and ruin my reputation with lies and all the things? Your brain your brain is going in full-on spiral and anxiety and what if, and you cannot bring yourself to coach them and be the empowered version of yourself that you could be. You just cannot bring yourself to do that because you're so triggered. So the reason we don't act the way we want to act, whether it's in this situation or any given situation, when we are triggered in our business or in our personal lives, when we do not act the way we want to act, it's because of our fears. Okay? Because we can always see something in black and white. We can see something, we can see a situation, but we don't necessarily act the way we want to act because we can't bring ourselves to, because of fear. Now, the fears haven't appeared out of nowhere. Even if you are a new business owner, fearing new situations, coming upon situations for the first time, or indeed an established business owner coming upon a situation for the very first time, that fear has not come out of nowhere. Because every emotion that you are feeling is tied to the first time you felt that emotion. because it's your subconscious that's choosing to bring that up for you, because it is being reminded of something that has happened to you before. Okay, so back to a little bit of neuroscience here. Your subconscious mind stores everything you've ever experienced. And it has to do this because its job is to keep you safe. So it stores all your experiences. You don't consciously remember all of your experiences, but everything is stored subconsciously, and it is on that filter through which you experience your current reality. So this is where a modality called timeline comes in that I use very frequently with my clients. And it's the most incredible modality, because whenever I spot a limiting belief that's come up, and for me it is really, really easy to spot, I ask them what's the feeling there. And as long as they can feel that and articulate that, like whatever that is, like this morning, I had a one-to-one with a client this morning, and she was, she'd love to be more fearless. She'd love to just be able to say what she wanted to say, and be really fearless. Like intellectually, she knows that she's really, really good at what she does. But something still holds her back from, going live when she feels inspired to. She feels worried that she might say something wrong, or just worried what others will think of her. And she's worried that it's just not going to be right. So we can apply this situation to boundaries. Worried, what if, okay? And it described it as embarrassed in advance of what might happen. So this fear is stopping her from being her most empowered, bold self in her business. So we did timeline on this. And what this means is finding that feeling. And this is all done with the subconscious mind, by the way. So you do not have to remember what the conscious memories are at all. So we found it. Okay, you just speak to the subconscious mind. The subconscious will always give you the memory. We found it, and it had to do with fitting in. And this is so common. It's so fascinating to do timeline with clients. They are amazing at what they do in their business. They're doing well, and with the mentorship that I do with them, we remove the layers one by one. And so it's so fascinating to do timeline and find the original memory to change that. So what was holding back my business owner today, my lovely client today, was when she started a new school, she had this feeling of needing to fit in. And with timeline, we don't go into the memory. I don't necessarily find out exactly the situation, because the way I do it is solution focused. And so we neutralize the memory. I know it had something to do with starting a new school and this desire to fit in, change who she was to be liked. And that feeling, that resistance was created there. And then we went back, we neutralized that today so that she can be her most confident, powerful, successful self. She knows, like intellectually, before doing this morning, she knew that she didn't need to find the right words. And she knew that, she'll always be fine going live. And she does go live quite often, but she recognized that she doesn't act as powerfully as she could in her business. She knew she was holding herself back. So we found that, we did timeline on it. And it's just the most amazing thing to neutralize that and then get them to see. It's called future pacing. They get to see themselves having just shifted what they've shifted from childhood. They get to see themselves acting and feeling differently. And because the brain cannot tell the difference between real or imagination, you get to experience that. Like on the timeline, you can go into the future and watch yourself doing the things that you want to do with such a different energy. It's so, so powerful. And then as you do that, as you're creating what I call it a memory, because to me, like the way I see the brain, like it's probably I don't mean to confuse you here, but I talk about a memory in the future too, because when we do timeline and we go into the future and we look down and we see you doing exactly what you want to do, but in the most powerful, confident way, you're creating a memory in advance. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference. So we are creating that false memory, imprinting it on the subconscious, so that the subconscious, that's then on the filter. You see what I was talking about earlier? That filter even though it's not happened yet, we've created this memory and it's now on the filter. So the subconscious works, gets you, supports you to create that reality. It's so, so powerful. So, yeah, you don't need to fear making a mistake. You can be your most empowered, unapologetic self in your business. And the thing with boundaries as well, because you can know one thing, but not be able to embody that. You can know that having better boundaries with your clients will get them better results because they watch you have better boundaries and they learn from that. So if, for example, you are coaching coaches, if you don't have good boundaries with them, then you're actually doing a disservice to them because you're taking away from them the opportunity to see excellent boundaries modeled. And I have done this time and time again with my clients where I gently uphold a boundary. For example, if they come to me in a one-to-one message saying, Jenna, I'm really struggling with this and I just cannot bring myself to share it in the group today, I will coach them through that. Well, the one time that did happen recently, actually, luckily, we had a one-to-one still to use because my Powerhouse Portal clients, they get 2 one-to-ones with me. So I said, book that in. We worked on that straight away in the one-to-one. But no, it's definitely happened at other times. I'm trying to think. Just ask them. Do share it. Lovingly, you can share it in the group. And I support them through that. And the group is the most amazing community in the sense that it's a safe space, but they at that point didn't feel safe to share that. That was their feeling. But I still gently upheld the boundary, showed them that it was safe to share it in the group. And then that got dissolved there and then. They shared it in the group. They felt better. They got the support from the other ladies in the group. And that that was not a problem going forwards after that. So if I had not upheld that boundary, number one, I will have been doing a disservice to that particular client because they got the loving support and encouragement from the other ladies in the group too. But also, she's also a coach. So me modeling those good boundaries shows her a way to do it. You can do it. The other thing that I was going to share, which has just gone, but yeah, it's about modeling and you get better results. That's another thing as well. If I let that boundary slide and coach that client on a one-to-one instead of in the group, then my other clients who are in there would have missed out on the opportunity to experience like how I coached my client through that. And so there is every reason to keep that boundary in that situation and every reason not to. Okay. Upholding your boundaries can be kind, gentle, positive, nurturing, can absolutely come from a loving place, but it comes from within. You have to feel strong and safe to do that. You have to not be driven by these fears. So it does take work on yourself to be able to not let those fears hold you back. And know that those fears are only there because there's something in your past that has caused that to be a fear. And so this is how and why high-level mentorship alongside hypnosis and subconscious reprogramming to dissolve these patterns that are limiting you and holding you back, they're stuck in the subconscious. Just doing hypnosis on its own is not enough, I would say, as a business owner. It's incredible. But that high-level mentorship to guide you through the ups and downs of your business to help you not allow your brain to sabotage you, because your brain will always try and sabotage you. It just wants to keep you safe. And so you can work through a pattern, you can dissolve a limiting belief, and then it can show up in another way, in another context. That's where the high-level mentorship comes in, where you get to work on your patterns and your programs to remove them one by one. It's such a game changer. And so, yeah, I would love to shift your perception on boundaries from changing stuff externally to just looking within. What is it about how I feel, either about myself or about what might happen, that is stopping me from being the boldest version of myself? What are you scared of? And if that thing were to happen, would it be so bad? Look the fear in the face. Ask yourself, what's the best possible outcome from putting this boundary in place? And it's a muscle, of course. It might feel scary the first time. Just because you have subconscious reprogramming, by the way, and you know what your next level looks like, doesn't mean to say it's easy, right? Moving out of your old identity, your old programs, and doing things a different way will feel like it's at the edge of your comfort zone. But that is growth. That is growth, okay? We do not grow unless we are willing to grow. But it's so, so incredible. When you have better boundaries, you save yourself so much time, energy, money as well, because if you think as you're a business owner, your time is your money. And if you are wasting so much time because you're not upholding your boundaries, if you are overgiving, for example, in your programs, or if a client has finished with you and they carry on messaging you for support and they've not paid to do that, you're just letting them do that, then you are using your time, your energy, and all the things. You are allowing that. Okay, so another thing that I would just like to share, I'm aware the time is ticking. We've only got 4 minutes. I do not want to get cut off. I'm not going to get cut off today. But one thing I would love to share with you is when your boundaries get pushed, do not get pissed off at that other person. It's only happening because you, until now, have allowed it to happen. So it's okay to feel frustrated, of course, like feel your feelings, but do not put it on them, all right? They're only doing that because they feel that they are able to do that, okay? So just get curious and ask yourself, how would I normally respond to this? And what would my next level self do instead? And can I bring myself to do that? What else do I want to share with you? I think that's it. Boundaries with self actually is another huge one. If you think about, I'd love for you to think about your time and your energy as 10 times more valuable than you currently appreciate it as. All right. And how you are expending your energy really, really matters. Because if you're tired, if you're depleted, if you are not putting yourself first, if for example, you're not eating properly, or you're not exercising right, or you're not sleeping, your sleep hygiene is not good, you're not getting enough sleep, then that's on you again. Health is wealth. All right. This is really, really important, because if you do not have your health, you don't have your business. And so boundaries with yourself matter too. Okay. So I'm going to stop coaching there. I'm going to give you the opportunity to reflect. What takeaway have you had from today that's going to allow you to see things in a different way? What new way have you got from this episode? New way of seeing things with boundaries. And because of that new understanding, what are you no longer going to tolerate in your life or in your business? And how are you going to show up for yourself or your clients differently? I would absolutely love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your takeaways from this episode. If you are open to sharing them with me, either in the DMs, or I'd also love for you to share this episode with your business bestie, or share it on stories and tag me. I would absolutely love that. Your support is so, so appreciated. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm congratulating myself now because I'm about to finish before being cut off mid-sentence. So thank you so much for listening. I will see you all very soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Bigger Than You podcast with your host, Jenna Holloway. If this episode has been valuable to you, please share it with a friend or leave a review.